Krishna Kirtan-ācārya Premamritam Banidhi Krishna Kirtan-ācārya
Such a beautiful bhajan by Srila Prabhupada on this Wednesday evening from Canada. It's rather cold outside today. My friends here at the ashram were saying to me, "Oh, Vishwakarma, it's so cold out." But this is the nature of the material world, that there's duality. Happiness, distress, that goes on every day in the mind of the conditioned soul. And heat and cold, hankering and lamenting, all kinds of dualities, and people are afflicted by them. It's a very tragic situation because of ignorance. A lot of times people say, Balaram, ignorance is bliss. No, it's not. Ignorance is misery. That's what the fool says. And there are so many foolish people. There are different categories of spiritualists or people, not even spiritualists. There's the transcendentalist. There's the theist. There's the agnostic, and there's the atheist. So different categories of human beings, so-called human beings. And Prabhupada came from India on a very treacherous journey to help people in the Western world become enlightened, because without knowledge, there is no bliss. Without knowledge, people suffer, like the atheist. We meet atheists, Balaram, all the time. They have no belief in God, they have no knowledge of God, and they waste all of their time on the mental plane of speculation. We have the agnostics. Well, these people, they also do the same thing. They have no knowledge of whether God exists or not. They're agnostic. They're in limbo, as they say in the Catholic Church. Of course, limbo has a different meaning with the Catholicism, but so it may not be appropriate, but they're not anywhere. They're crazy. If you don't know who you are, you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going. Prabhupada said if you meet someone on the street, they don't know anything, they might lock you up. The police may say, well, you're crazy, we'll take you to the mental institution. And people's mental illness is a very great disease here in Canada, very big. And people are completely lost in life. And instead of trying to help them with knowledge, what do? They give them pharmaceutical drugs. We have one person here living at the ashram. He's been troubled for years. He's a young man, 24. He has no idea who he is. He's completely bewildered by the fact he has no training. And tomorrow he's scheduled to get a hypodermic up his rear end. A very heavy drug to make him more or less catatonic, because that's what they do with people that have no knowledge. Instead of dealing with them, trying to enlighten them, give them understanding, they just inject them with a needle of high potency drugs and makes him catatonic for a week. And we have another lady at the ashram. She doesn't live here, but she's a pharmacist. She's been like Prabhupada was a pharmacist. She's also a pharmacist. She had a very successful pharmacy at one time. They were selling over $15 million a year in drugs. And she can't stand her business, Balaram, because all she sees is every day people on different types of psychotic drugs or some type of painkiller. So the people are completely injected with these drugs, and there's mental illness. It is a huge disease because there's no God consciousness. That's the reason. If you don't know the nature of the soul, if you don't know the mind, if you don't know about the intelligence and the false ego, the soul, the super soul, basic information that Prabhupada has given us through the pages of the Bhagavad Gita with his detailed explanations of this philosophy through his transcendental position as the representative of Krishna. Actually, Prabhupada, it was interesting, Yaśodā Prabhupada was saying, there's no difference between Krishna and the pure devotee spiritual master. And everything that the spiritual master speaks is also Shastra, it's scripture. Everything he speaks. So a lot of times, as we know, people minimize that for some kind of frivolous reason. Prabhupada said, I've been listening to this tape, I mentioned it the other day. My CD player is an older CD player, and miraculously in the last 3 weeks, it started to work, Balaram, in my car. It was like, oh my God, thank God. And I have one CD in there, and I'm afraid to take it out and insert another one for fear that it'll stop. So I've been listening to the same class over and over again. And by the way, it's ever fresh. I'm trying to memorize everything. Every time you hear his Prabhupada sentences, you get new meaning, as you know, deeper insight. If you can follow the logic, the sentences, they're so perfect. He's an amazing, well, he's beyond a public speaker. He's a transparent via media for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's a much different opportunity for us to hear him speak. But he was saying that the movement that he was a part of, which was the Gaudiya Math, he mentions it at the end of the lecture. He says, somehow or other, a great movement was destroyed by whimsical behavior. What a tragedy. The Gaudiya Math, there were 60 temples. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada, was the most renowned scholar of the modern ages. And Prabhupada is his disciple. And he said, but the secret of a successful mission is that the members of the mission do not change anything. They simply repeat what they've heard. So Krishna consciousness is like a razor blade in understanding. If you make any kind of mistake with a razor blade, as we all know when we shave, you cut yourself. So what's happened is there's been great deviations that have taken place in ISKCON after Prabhupada's departure from the material world. And great tragedy has taken place in our mission because of that. A great tragedy. And Prabhupada says, I was mentioning these purports earlier to all of us. Prabhupada says when this type of false guruship comes into play, then it becomes a community of the cheaters and the cheated. That's what's going on. So you have Prabhupada coming to make transcendentalists. And I'll finish up here. These transcendentalists, they're known by three phases: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And our goal as devotees is to follow the path of bhakti yoga of Lord Krishna and become his humble servants, the humble servants of the spiritual master and the humble servants of Krishna. This is a very simple process. People think, oh, it's so complicated. It isn't. It's very simple. Simple for the simple, difficult for the crooked. You simply chant Hare Krishna, offer your food, and attend these wonderful classes where the authorized books of His Divine Grace are being studied and read. And this was all because of his great work in coming to America. And we'll go to the diaries of Srila Prabhupada now. We're moving along very quickly, Yaśodā-nanda Prabhu, in this diary. It's amazing how time flies. America, Srila Prabhupada arrives at Boston Harbor. He's already crossed the ocean. He's already made all the preparations in the diary. And now he's arrived in Boston. And let's go to the first photograph. Just see this picture, amazing, eh? Srila Prabhupada first landed here at Commonwealth Pier in Boston at 5:30 a.m. on September 17th, 1965. So everybody here on the call, put yourself in a relationship with Prabhupada based on your age, how old you are, where you are now at 2023 in December, and what we're going to do together as a team to carry out the mission that Prabhupada was starting on September 17th, 1965, relatively speaking. And he was on a mission all his life, but we're seeing the starting of it in America. This picture was taken when Prabhupada revisited the site with some of his disciples. Okay, so it wasn't exactly that day. Thursday, September 16th. Today is the 35th day of our journey. And yesterday night at about 10:30 p.m., we have turned one wheel towards northeastern corner from the Bermuda latitude towards Boston Port. In the morning, the atmosphere was fairly cleared and the ship was plying very smoothly. The first officer told me that he had never had such experience of the Atlantic Ocean, and he ascribed the good luck to me. Of course, that was why. I said, yes, it is all Lord Krishna's grace, because due to my severe type of seasickness, he himself taken charge of the ship. In expansion, the Lord is rowing the oars. We shall certainly reach to the American port safely. The whole day was clear sunshine, but at 4 p.m. the sky all of a sudden became foggy. The sun became dim, covered by foggy weather. The horizon is still visible. Let us see what is still ahead. The ship is stopped completely at about 6 p.m. on account of dense fog. Be Lord Krishna pleased to get out of this fog. By the grace of Lord Krishna, the fog was cleared after 2 to 3 hours, and the ship started. The whole night was non-disturbing, and today, on the 36th day of our journey, we reached safely at Boston Port at 5:30 a.m. Friday the 17th, we are now on the dockyard of Boston, and at 10 a.m., the custom officers and others came on the ship. They have now issued the admittance permission after due checking, etc. I saw Boston town with Captain. It is very nice, and I shall describe it in a separate note. So his first chance of seeing America. I shall describe 36th day from the starting point from Calcutta Port today. We are expected to reach Boston Port, USA in the morning, 9:65. We stayed the whole day and night at Boston till 4 p.m. next day. And on Saturday, the 18th, the last day we'll read in the diary today, today is the 37th day of our journey. And at 4 p.m., we left Boston Port to New York. In the morning, I had a telephonic talks with Gopal P. Agarwal in Butler, and he said that his man will receive me at New York and dispatch me to Butler by bus or train as convenient. I tried to contact Dr. Misra, but he was not available both yesterday and today. I do not know if he's going to receive me. Today I met two American nice gentlemen, Mr. Gardner and Fryer. We passed a beautiful canal and crossed under two bridges, but at midnight there was considerable fog disturbance and the ship moved very slowly. The fog persisted till we reached late in New York Port on the 12:30 on the 19th of September 1965. So Prabhupada's he's made his way to New York and preparing to travel to Pennsylvania. And we'll carry on with this reading. And our opening discussions with all of you here at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society. Now we'll move to the chanting of Hare Krishna, Jaya Radha Madhava with Srila Prabhupada, the bhajan. And then we'll have the reading of the Caitanya-caritāmṛta with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu from Twain Harte, California, in this global broadcast. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Amaspa Paramangsa Paribrajagacharya Sthitare Srismada Pridhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava ki Jai Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khund Radha Khund Giri Govardhan ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai ki Jai Jamuna Mai ki Jai Guru Dwarka Dham ki Jai Swami Bhaktivedanta ki Jai. All glories to their Supreme. All glories to their Supreme. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayam mudirayat Tato jayam mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam or Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, after offering respectful obeisances, 1. To the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2. To the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3. To the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4. To Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. We will be reading from the original, non-interpolated, non-edited, non-adulterated 1974 original version. And as we do every week, we will be reciting a few verses from the Adi Lila, chapter 1 of Caitanya-caritāmṛta, to understand the transcendental benefit of reciting and reading this great literature. This is from Adi Lila, chapter 1, text number 18. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text 19. Eti na thakur gadiya ke karye chena yatmasat, eti nera charana vandan tire morenat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text number 20. Grantera Rambikari Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text number 21. Tinera smaranayai vigna vinashana, anayasayai nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text number 22. Se mangala charanoi trivida prakar vastu nirdesha shirvada namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Today we will be reading from Adi Lila, chapter 4, text 101. Hare Krishna. Shashta shlokerarta karite prakash pratama kaye heshe shloker abash. Shashta, sixth shlokera of the verse. Artha, meaning. Karite, to do. Prakasha, manifestation. Pratame, first. Kahiye, I shall speak. Say that. Shlokera, of the verse. Abhasa, hint. Translation. To explain the sixth verse, I shall first give a hint of its meaning. Text 102. Avatari Prabhu Pracharila Sankirtana Eho Bhahyaye tu Purvi Karyachi Suchana. Avatari, incarnating. Prabhu, the Lord. Pracharila, propagated. Sankirtana, the congregational chanting of the holy name. Eho, this. Bhahya, external. Hetu, reason. Purve, previously. Karyachi, I have given. Suchana, indication. Translation. The Lord came to propagate Sankirtana. That is an external purpose, as I've already indicated. Text 103. Avatarera araika che mukhya bija rasika shekar Krishna rasikarya nija. Avatarera, of the incarnation. Ara, another. Eka, one. Ache, there is. Mukhya bija, principal seed. Rasika Shekar, the foremost enjoyer of the mellows of love. Krishnera, of Lord Krishna. Say that. Karya, business. Nija, own. There is a principal cause for Lord Krishna's appearance. It grows from his own engagements as the foremost enjoyer of loving exchanges. Text 104. Ati guda hetu se trivida prakar damodara swarupoete yahara prachar. Ati, very. Gudha, esoteric. Hetu, reason. Se, that. Tribhidha, three. Prakara, kinds. Damodar Swarup Oite, from Swarupa Damodar. Yahara, of which. Prachara, the proclamation. Translation. That most conventional cause is threefold. Swarup Damodar as revealed it. Text 105. Swarup Gosai Prabhurati Antaranga Tahate Janena Prabhuri Sabha Prasanga. Swarup Gosai, Swarup Damodar Gosai, Prabhura, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ati, very. Antaranga, confidential associate. Tahati, by that. Janena, he knows. Prabhura, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Esaba, all these. Prasanga, topics. Translation. Swarup Gosai is the most intimate associate of the Lord. He therefore knows all these topics well. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Prior to the Lord's acceptance of the renounced order, Purushottama Bhattacharya, a resident of Navadvip, desired to enter the renounced order of life. Therefore, he left home and went to Benares, where he accepted the position of brahmacharya from a Mayavadi sannyasi. When he became a brahmachari, he was given the name Sri Damodar Swarupa. He left Benares shortly after, without taking sannyas, and he came to Nilachala, Jagannath Puri, where Lord Chaitanya was staying. He met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there and dedicated his life for the service of the Lord. He became Lord Chaitanya's secretary and constant companion. He used to enhance the pleasure potency of the Lord by singing appropriate songs, which were very much appreciated. Swarup Damodar could understand the secret mission of Lord Chaitanya, and it was by his grace only that all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya could know the real purpose of the Lord. Swarup Damodar has been identified as Lalita Devi, the second expansion of Radharani. However, the authoritative Gaura Ganodesha Dipika of Kavi Karnapur describes Swarup Damodar as the same Vishaka Devi who served the Lord in Goloka Vrindavana. Therefore, it is to be understood that Sri Swarup Damodar is a direct expansion of Radharani who helps the Lord experience the attitude of Radharani. Text 106. Radhikara Bhava Murti Prabhurantara Se Bhave Sukha Dukha Vitti Nirantara. Radhikara of Srimati Radharani. Bhava Murti, the form of the emotions. Prabhura of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Antara, the heart. Se, that. Bhave, in the condition. Sukha dukkha, happiness and distress. Ute, arise. Nirantara, constantly. Translation. The heart of Lord Chaitanya is the image of Sri Radhika's emotions. Thus, feelings of pleasure and pain arise constantly therein. Purport. Lord Chaitanya's heart was full of the feelings of Srimati Radharani, and his appearance resembled hers. Swarup Damodar has explained his attitude as Radha Bhava Murti, the attitude of Radharani. One who engages in sense gratification on the material platform can hardly understand Radha Bhava, but one who is freed from the demands of sense gratification can understand it. Radha Bhava must be understood from the Goswamis, those who are actually controllers of the senses. From such authorized sources, it is to be known that the attitude of Srimati Radharani is the highest perfection of conjugal love, which is the highest of the 5 transcendental mellows, and it is the complete perfection of love for Krishna. These transcendental affairs can be understood on 2 platforms. One is called elevated, and the other is called super elevated. The loving affairs exhibited in Dwarka are the elevated form. The super elevated position is reached in the manifestations of the pastimes of Vrindavana. The attitude of Lord Chaitanya is certainly super elevated. From the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, an intelligent person engaged in pure devotional service can understand that he always felt separation from Krishna within himself. In that separation, he sometimes felt that he had found Krishna and he was enjoying the meeting. The significance of this separation and meeting is very specific. If someone tries to understand the exalted position of Lord Chaitanya without knowing this, is sure to misunderstand it. One must first become fully self-realized. Otherwise, he may misidentify the Lord as Nagara or the enjoyer of the dances of Vraja, thus committing the mistake of rasa bhasa, or overlapping understanding. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prasantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Kādhyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataha Adadhanastrinam Danteridam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadurupapadam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pekshako Nityam Tat Preshta Sad Karomishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Very interesting purport, especially the last one, about the different levels of understanding about the transcendental affairs between Dwarka and Vrindavana. Prabhupada describes some of these pastimes are elevated and super elevated. It's interesting to note Srila Prabhupada was in Los Angeles one time, and the reporter asked him, "What do you think about Los Angeles?" Prabhupada stopped, he looked at the sky, he says, "I'm not in Los Angeles, I'm in Vaikuntha." So this is the exalted position of the pure devotee. He's not fazed by any of the disturbances of the material world. Although a pure devotee, a Mahabhagavat, will come down to the platform of a Madhyamadikari or a Madhyama Bhagavata to preach, but he cannot hide his elevated transcendental position. Whereas it's very easy to distinguish when another kind of Madhyamadikari, who is not coming down from the platform of an Uttamadikari, but is one who is still progressing, when one tries to imitate the exalted position of a Mahabhagavata, it is very different. That is why in the Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada gives a very stark warning that one should not try to imitate the position of the Mahabhagavata without being self-realized. Otherwise, eventually one will become degraded. So one has to distinguish very clearly the position of the self-realized soul, the fully liberated soul, the topmost Mahabhagavata, and one who is a sadhaka, a practitioner who is still trying to progress on the path of devotional service. Now, it's very nice if anybody is engaged in preaching the mission of the Acharya according to the direction and orders of the Acharya. That is a very welcome and exalted position. The difficulty is, just like Vishwakarma Prabhu was mentioning in the beginning of his introductory speech, that sometimes people distort the teachings. They change the teachings. And that creates a problem. We see in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya of Ramanujacharya, which has been ongoing for 1100 years or even longer, and Madhvacharya Sampradaya, which has been going on for 900 years, that they don't change. They never change or adulterate the writings of their Acharya. Therefore, the teachings are kept intact. The teachings are kept non-adulterated. And some people, like this week, somebody contacted me and says, why is it that you and Vishwakarma constantly go back to this point again and again? Well, the difficulty is because every single week we see examples of people concocting, changing, adulterating, and misleading people with different misrepresentations on different levels. That is why Prabhupada said, when he originally founded the GBC in July of 1970 in Los Angeles, California, I asked one of his personal servants, what is this GBC function? What is it meant for? We all know what the function of a temple president was meant to be. And the reply was, well, this is meant to be just a supervisory position to make sure that everything goes nicely in the expansion of the movement, and to make sure that in the future, after the eventual departure of Srila Prabhupada, that his teachings will not be changed or distorted in any way. Now, this is very important. Acharyas make arrangement. There have been very powerful acharyas in our sampradaya. For example, in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta purport, there is a description of some of the branches in the Madhva Sampradaya, and there is one Swami named Raghavendra Swami. Now, this person was a big combatant against the Mayavadis. He appeared in the 1600 after Lord Chaitanya. He was a big preacher, wrote several books in Sanskrit commentaries, and he vigorously preached against the Mayavadis. When it was time for departing his body, he entered his samadhi alive, stating that he was going to live there for 700 years to give blessings to all the Vaishnavas. Now, some atheistic people may doubt whether this is true or not, but we know as Vaishnavas that this is very true. We see in the Chaitanya Bhagavat how Vrindavan Das Thakur, the exalted writer, compiler of the life of Lord Chaitanya, he gives in one of his verses, Adyapi Lila Koro, that even after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya, many devotees are still directly experiencing the presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. About 50, 60 years after the departure of Lord Chaitanya in 15, maybe 35, 40 years, Narottam Das Thakur and the Janava Devi, the wife of Lord Nityananda, organized a big Vaishnava festival in what is now Bangladesh in a place called Keturi. And as part of that festival, she was attempting to bring together all of these different devotees and followers of Lord Chaitanya and trying to unite these devotees in their philosophical presentation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because after the departure of Lord Chaitanya, there were different Vaishnava groups trying to present and promulgate different understandings, not necessarily deviant understanding, but different technical understandings of the exalted position of Lord Chaitanya. So she was trying to bring these people together. And as part of that festival, there was an incident that was witnessed by many devotees, how the Panchatattva, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Advaita-acharya, Srivas Thakur, all these Panchatattva appeared and danced right before the devotees. So this is the transcendental nature of the spiritual platform, that Krishna is available and his devotees are also available. We've often discussed before how there are certain personalities called Chiranjeev, that they are constantly living. One of these persons is Hanuman. the celebrated Vaishnava devotee of Lord Ramachandra, who is said to be still living. Another one is Vibhishana, the brother of Ravana, who joined Lord Ramachandra in his fight against the demonic Ravana. He's said to be still living somewhere in Lanka. Lord Parashuram is said to be still living in the border of what is currently Orissa and Andhra Pradesh. Even there's a notorious person who is not a Vaishnava, Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama tried to kill the children of the Pandavas, and he was cursed to live constantly, but to suffer with constantly painful sores and blood pus oozing from his body, but he will not stop. That suffering will keep going. So there are different personalities that are still living. Vedavyas is still living in the Himalayas. It's interesting, when Prabhupada first went to India from America in 1970, when he went there for the second time, he went there in 1967. But when he was there in 1970, they went to the Kumbh Mela. As everyone knows, the Kumbh Mela is this gigantic fair in Prayag, the confluence of the Ganges and the Yamuna and the Saraswati. And many millions of people go there. It's quite an event. If anybody has ever seen pictures of it, it's remarkable. It's one of the biggest assembly of human beings on the planet. There's nothing like this anywhere in the world. You're talking millions and millions of people going to pay their respect to the Ganges and the Yamuna and to take their bath on the sacred day. Usually it falls in the middle of January every year. So when devotees first went there, of course, being from the West, we were noticing some sadhus. They're Nagababas. They go in these little underwear in the middle of the winter, and their bodies are covered with ashes, and they don't put any clothes. They're like super austere. They grew long matted hair, and devotees were laughing sometime at them. And when Prabhupada heard about this, he says, no, you don't do that. Don't laugh at these people, because some of them are taking their baths in the 4 dhams, both in Badrinath, Dwarka, Jagannath Puri, and Rameshwaram every single day. They have mystic powers. Do not laugh at them. So there are many things which are beyond our limited material vision. We know that in one letter, Srila Prabhupada was asked whether or not he would remain in the material world to deliver his disciples, or until all of his disciples would be delivered. And Srila Prabhupada's reply basically was, yes, the spiritual master will remain in the material world as long as his disciples are still here. Now, how that will take place, how this will manifest itself, that is the mystery, the powerful arrangement of the spiritual master, of the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, and the mercy of Lord Krishna. But we do know one thing, just like we read in these books about the exalted position of Radharani, the exalted position of these great souls, just like we're reading about Swarup Damodar, the most confidential associate of Lord Chaitanya. It's not that this knowledge is a secret that only a few people can have. No, it is available. Simply one has to develop the taste for hearing. Every day, every week, we recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. And before we begin the reading in a class on the Srimad Bhagavatam, we read a few verses from the Canto 1, Chapter 2, the description of the scientific process of devotional service and the benefit of hearing the Bhagavatam class. Now, hearing the Bhagavatam is very powerful. Hearing Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta is equally powerful. Very, very important. This is the life of a devotee, to hear the message from the Bhagavatam and render service unto the Bhagavata devotees. especially the pure devotee, the mission of the pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. So one should not despair or think that because Srila Prabhupada is not physically here, although he is physically here in his murti and in his picture, but for those who are very fond of this term, he's not living. Well, he's living in sound. He is living through his books. He is living through his teachings. In the 4th canto of the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada, in the story of Kardamuni and Devahuti, there's a very interesting purport where Srila Prabhupada described that Bhaktivedanta Thakur prayed to have a son who would help him to preach the mission of Lord Chaitanya, who would help him to propagate the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada describes Bhakti, and by his prayers, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is now preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world through his bona fide disciples. Well, it's interesting that this purport was written around 1973 and 1974. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur departed in 1937 in December. How is he preaching in 1974? I mean, this is the point. We have to understand that to surrender, to become an instrument, just like we know, we've read in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, you just become an instrument. Their fate is already decided. All the sinful Duryodhana party, their destruction is assured. Their conclusion is already reached. All you have to do, just become an instrument. Similarly, what we have to do is become an instrument. But the first part of becoming a useful instrument in the mission means that one has to learn the taste for hearing, to understand properly the philosophy. And even if one makes things very simple, for example, in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which was released in 1968, some of you may have heard the name of that devotee, Jayananda. Jayananda was a taxi driver in San Francisco. And what happened, he joined the mission over there and he saved his money. He was driving a taxi and he gave his money, several $1,000s to Srila Prabhupada to print the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. The first teaching of Lord Chaitanya, the dark blue cover with a picture of the Panchatattva dancing. And Prabhupada told him, now you've donated the money, now go try to distribute it. And Jayananda would go out and try to distribute the books. It's interesting because in San Francisco, in 1970, this was the first center in the movement where they were distributing big books. Up to that time, devotees were definitely little pamphlets, Back to Godhead magazine, Ishopanishad, once in a while, a little 1968 Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita with the purple cover with Lord Vishnu on it. What happened is Jayananda and Bhutatma and Keshava in San Francisco, they got together and got some devotees, Buddhimanta, Sarvabhauma, and several other devotees, and they figured out a way to distribute big books because the Krishna book came printed from Japan in July of 1970, and there was a lot of them. So they figured out a way to distribute these books, Premarnava, Sarvabhauma, Buddhimanta, and there was quite a few other devotees, and they some way or other, this worked out very well. This was the original center of book distribution in ISKCON, in the movement. And then once that was established, they were training other devotees how to distribute the books, the big books, like the Krishna book, and the Nectar of Devotion also came in July, August 1970. So this was like a major historical milestone in the preaching history of the movement. Just like recently on one of our Prabhupada Disciples Association chats, somebody sent a posting which was purporting to be a letter written by Narottam Das Thakur, explaining the results of distribution of literatures in the late 1500s, the first book distribution party in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. And several devotees asked me, well, where is this from? Well, the life of the six Goswamis and Srinivasacharya, Shyamananda, Narottam Das Thakur, these are the primary devotees, main devotees after Lord Chaitanya departed in 1534. The lives of these great devotees are described in a book called Bhakti Ratnakar. And it's elaborate description of everything that took place, how the movement gradually was expanded back in Bengal, in Orissa, and everything that was going on at the time. It's like a historical account of the history of our Sampradaya. Now, I have not found exactly where that specific letter was, but that book, Bhakti Ratnakar, describes these wonderful events. So we should rest assured there is plenty of transcendental nectar, plenty of transcendental nourishment and instruction. Simply we have to develop the taste for hearing. And then it will not be very difficult to figure out when somebody is posing or posturing or pretending. It will be easy to see because one will be fixed in the proper conclusion as given by Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your detailed explanation and really a tremendous insights into our philosophy in a very detailed manner. And this is the joy of hearing for the aspiring student of Bhakti Yoga. You want to get the chance to have the opportunity to associate with other devotees and hear this philosophy and relish the realizations that come from it. And this is Sankirtan. This is what Sankirtan is. It is explained here in today's verse that to explain the sixth verse, I shall first give a hint of its meaning. Text 102. The Lord came to propagate Sankirtan. That is an external purpose, as I've already indicated. So this was one of the missions of the Lord. The Lord appeared for a variety of reasons, but here today we see the reference to Sankirtan. And for those who are new to this group of Prabhupada disciples, let's discuss what is Sankirtan. Sankirtan simply is the propagation of the process of spreading Krishna consciousness through the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, both through japa and public performance, the study of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and Caitanya-caritāmṛta, as Yaśodā-nandana explained, hearing the philosophy, and then distributing this information to other people. This is the highest service that one can render to the spiritual master and to Krishna. Because one who preaches this philosophy to others, Krishna will explain to us in the Bhagavad Gita, he is most dear to Krishna. And he is most dear to the spiritual master, because this was Prabhupada's main focus. It wasn't just a whimsical fly-by-night movement. It was him following a very strict schedule, austere schedule. And Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, it's interesting to note that Prabhupada worked himself to the end. It wasn't just he took a day off. Prabhupada never took a day off. Or as they say in the modern society, chilled out. There's no chilling out. He was always, he hardly slept. When he was in Toronto, he slept, he went to bed early at 10 o'clock, and he got up at 1 o'clock and started translating. Even though he was traveling, he was pushing himself at a very high pace. Despite his failing health. When he was in Toronto, Prabhu, he wasn't feeling well. I went to see him. I apologized. Prabhupada, I'm sorry that we've arranged all these engagements for you. He had to meet Joseph O'Connell. He went to devotees' houses. He had lectures to give. In the temple, he had meetings to have with the devotees. And you know what he said to me? That's okay. Go ahead. No consideration for himself. It wasn't that he was after profit, adoration, or distinction. He made no request to see the deed of the building. He made no request for any Lakshmi. But at the same time, he was always ready to serve the mission of Lord Chaitanya no matter where he went. And he underwent great austerity, pushing himself. And so we should follow in the example of our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, and push ourselves with our mind, our intelligence, our physical strength, our money, whatever capacity that we can contribute to this mission, we should step forward. As Yaśoda mentioned about Jayananda, I think he gave all his money that from his inheritance of $20,000. He gave all of it to Prabhupada for printing books. He didn't hold back on anything except the intense service that he saw in Prabhupada's character. He adopted it into his character. So this is very important to understand this mood, everyone. The Sankirtan mood is not frivolous. And some of us, Balaram has been on this type of quest. And when we first joined in Toronto, we were on a bus that we purchased, traveling around throughout Canada, very austere, by the way, no heat in the winter, ice cold water in the tank underneath, not some kind of luxury. We called it the Vishwakarma luxury liner. It had no cold, no hot water. In fact, I'll recall at Yojapati, who's B.B. Govinda now, he was traveling with me, and he got in the shower. We all would get in the shower in the morning. They had a steel shower, and it was freezing in the bus. It was a steel Bluebird bus. But then we put a shower in for us to take a rinse from tap water from a hose from somebody's house. And when the water went on you, when your feet touched the metal, the skin came off your feet because there's some type of adhesion that takes place when your feet touch on metal and cold water. It was unbearable. The showers were very quick, by the way. Quick rinse and out you went. Got dressed in freezing conditions, and then we went out on the street for hours and hours a day distributing the books, because that was our main mission, to travel. And we traveled everywhere for a year and a half, just like Vishnu John before he formed Radha Damodar Party. Prabhupada mentions our buses in Caitanya-caritāmṛta. He says there are buses traveling through America and Canada, or not, he didn't mention Canada, but in America, spreading the Krishna consciousness movement. And we were doing that. In fact, we met Vishnu John in Texas. He came on our bus. He had a bus, we had a bus. And it was quite, for young men like that, it was like an army. We were in the army, ready to accept all kinds of difficulties. So we'll just go to the verse here, Vinkat Prabhu. Prabhupada's describing Swarup Damodar being a brahmachari. Brahmachari means a single celibate student of the spiritual master. Brahmachari, Grihasta, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. We're not going to go over all of these things right now because it's for another time, but there are 4 ashrams. And the Brahmachari ashram is the starting point, or Brahmacharini ashram, where you're ready to accept all kinds of austerity. And here it said, he met Lord Chaitanya there and dedicated his life for the service of the Lord. He became Lord Chaitanya's secretary and constant companion. And he used to enhance the pleasure potency of the Lord by singing appropriate songs, which were very much appreciated. And Swarup Damodar could understand the secret mission of Lord Chaitanya. And it was by the grace, his grace only, that all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya could know the real purpose of the Lord, which was Sankirtan. This was his primary mission for the fallen souls in this age. Now it is our position to follow in the footsteps of Swarup Damodar and serve without any hesitation Srila Prabhupada in his mission. So this is a simple process. Prabhupada wanted us to show his love for him in one simple way. It's interesting, I had a debate today from a friend of mine from New Vrindavan. And he put up a post that I didn't really agree with. And he was saying, yeah, it's at this age, don't try to change anything. Don't try to do anything. Just chant your rounds and be a devotee and go back to Godhead. Yeah, sure. Just like that, eh? Well, it's not about that. It's not that we're just going to sit back and let things go on the way they are and not speak up. That is a mistake, everyone. This Sankirtan movement is a movement that is precise and exact according to Guru Tattva, Tattvavit. It's not just whimsical. So Prabhupada wanted us, all of us in this group, and there are hundreds of us, he wanted us to do one thing. And I'm going to write my friend in New Vrindavan tomorrow, because he was saying things which were very narcissistic, self-centered. We use the term bhajananandi, this kind of devotee that's all about himself. Chant my rounds, but never distribute prasadam to anybody, have no plans for it. If there's any donation to spread the Sankirtan, no, not for me. I'm going to keep my money. If there's any kind of chanting opportunity or class participation, not me. I'm busy. I'm smart. I got it all. Okay, fine. Because Prabhupada, he said, you can show your love for me by one simple thing. Work together. Just work together. Because I always say this to Yaśodā. Two devotees are better than one. 3 devotees are better than 2. 4 devotees are better than 3. And when you keep going, when we look at these photographs, Prabhus, at the beginning of the class that Vinkat Bhatta shows. Today I'm looking at it again, I'm going, what kind of beautiful momentum took place when Prabhupada was personally went with us It was outstanding. All these wonderful people assembled around the pure devotee and were pushing the Sankirtan movement like crazy. We bought that building in Toronto. We bought a skyscraper building in New York City. This movement was going through the roof because everybody was working together cooperatively to serve the mission of Srila Prabhupada that he enlisted us into. It wasn't a small thing. And unfortunately, through whimsical behavior of a few, that momentum has been lost and now subdivided into individual guru cults that will come and go in due course of time. Anyway, Yaśodā, maybe you could share a few thoughts, and then we'll go to our guests, Dharma Bhavana, Janas Priya, Sweta Saxena, and Balaram, to further discuss these points globally.
Well, thank you for these various points. See if we are... Here we go. I was just going to read a few statements from the Nectar of Instruction about the exalted position of Radharani and Radhakunda. This is from text number 9 in the purport, at the end of the purport. In Caitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya-lila, it is stated that when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first visited the area of Vrajabhumi, he could not at first find the location of Radhakunda. This means that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually searching for the exact location of Radhakunda. Finally, he found the holy spot, and there was a small pond there. He took his bath in that small pond and told his devotees that the actual Radhakunda was situated there. Later, the pond was excavated by Lord Chaitanya's devotees, headed first by the 6 Goswamis, such as Rupa and Raghunatha Dasa. Presently, there is a large lake known as Radhakund there. Srila Rupa Goswami has given much stress to Radhakunda because of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire to find it. Who then would give up Radhakunda and try to reside elsewhere? No person with transcendental intelligence would do so. The importance of Radhakunda, however, cannot be realized by other Vaishnava Sampradayas, nor can persons uninterested in the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understand the spiritual importance and divine nature of Radhakunda. Thus, Radhakunda is mainly worshipped by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the followers of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Radharani and her exalted Radhakunda. Thank you. Maybe you can have some more exalted speakers speak and comment. Hare Krishna.
Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas. Maybe you could share some thoughts. Your microphone, please. Keep trying. Just click.
I think we got it now. Okay, Hare Krishna. Yeah, I was just thinking towards the beginning of our discussion today.
Yes.
The word imitation was mentioned. And I was thinking how the things that Srila Prabhupada did, like waking up early in the morning, taking a bath, we were also taught either directly by him or by devotees who had heard from him in all the different temples around the world. So we're taught to follow his example.
Again, please.
I'm sorry. Hello, am I on? Am I on?
Yes, Prabhu.
And my question was, if somebody could give an example of what it means to imitate, some practical example to help us understand better. If anybody could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Vishwakarma, will you answer that?
I couldn't really hear the question. Could you repeat it? It was.
I think your connection is
Prabhu,
Vishwakarma Prabhu.
Can you hear me, Yaśodā?
I can hear you, but there's something wrong with your sound.
I'm having trouble with my audio. Venkat, Venkat,
Yeah,
maybe you could answer the
Yaśodā-nandana
question.
Prabhu can answer the question.
Yes. The question was example of imitating the behavior of an Uttamadhikari. Well, Prabhupada has given many instructions on this topic. For example, there's one lecture where Prabhupada cautioned, don't try to be a better Paramamsa than your Guru Maharaj. Prabhupada says, I even attend the classes. I even attend the classes morning and evening. Don't neglect that. I mean, I think that many times when we speak of these issues, we're speaking of certain behaviors that took place primarily after the departure of Srila Prabhupada with regards to certain practices and certain events like Vyasa Pujas, Guru Pujas, pictures, pranam mantras, special titles, a lot of these things which are usually reserved for the position of an exalted Uttamadhikari. And we've seen the result. The result is many of these people who did that experienced considerable difficulty in their own spiritual life, and it created a big havoc in the momentum of the mission. So one has to be very careful not to imitate the Mahabhagavata. If one thinks that he has become a Mahabhagavata, it's a pious belief, it's nice, but in the association of devotees, in the society of devotees, one should be very careful. For example, in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta in the Madhya Lila, chapter 24, text 330, Prabhupada quotes a verse from the Padma Purana, explaining that only a topmost Mahabhagavata is fit to occupy the position of Guru. Now, this is a very controversial topic because many people have different interpretations and different various ideas that everybody and their brother can just become a guru and accept worship, accept pranam mantras and everything. But that purport, that is very specific, that only such a person on that level is fit to occupy the position of guru. Because what happened if somebody is, here we go. There we go. Thank you, Venkat Bhatta Prabhu. It says, when one has attained the topmost position of Mahabhagavata, is to be accepted as a guru and worship exactly like Hari, the personality of Godhead. Only such a person is eligible to occupy the post of guru. However, if one is highly qualified but is not a Vaishnava, he cannot be accepted as guru. So in other words, Prabhupada, he gives many times very clear warnings in his purports. And it's up to us to read this and understand the intent of Srila Prabhupada. There's thousands of instructions from Srila Prabhupada, but we have to see sometimes why Prabhupada is saying this. I mean, this is very clear here. You couldn't be any clearer than that. But some people, either who are poor fund of knowledge or who have misinterpreted things or not even familiar with this, they think that, well, Prabhupada says in another place that all of his disciples are gurus, you all become, yes, you all become shiksha, you teach, you guide, you preach, you distribute books, that's nice. But the position of guru, the post of guru, this is not for imitation. One should not imitate the exalted position of someone like Srila Prabhupada. I hope it helps. Hare Krishna. Maybe Balaram may have some angles on that, knowing from Australia.
Thank you.
Is my voice back?
Yes, it is.
Did my voice return?
It is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Balaram, please then. We had a lag in my feed here. Sorry about that. Thank you for that answer. Balaram Prabhu, share your thoughts.
Hare Krishna.
In Australia.
To all the assembled Vaishnavas, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, who has forced us to open our eyes with his torchlight of transcendental knowledge, and we're all in this darkness of ignorance of Kali Yuga. So we're praying to Srila Prabhupada to constantly enlighten us. I was just seeing in the one of the purports, Prabhupada mentions that Radhabhava must be understood through the process from the 6 Goswamis. You know, that is the only way that we can actually come to any real. And the 6 Goswamis, he says, one who is in complete control of the senses. So this is the qualification. One who is spreading this knowledge, just like Srila Prabhupada. We could see that at every moment he was fully in control of his senses at every single moment. Vishwakarma was mentioning how Prabhupada now didn't have any down days. He didn't have any off days. Everywhere he traveled, Srila Prabhupada would arrive, especially coming to Australia. It was such a long journey and very tired. I mean, even for us in our 20s or 30s, just to travel to India or to travel to Hawaii or the States, very, very tiring. So Prabhupada would come on such a long trip like that. Sometimes his servants were more affected than Srila Prabhupada was. He would be there giving an arrival lecture and then meeting all day. The day that he'd arrived, he'd be meeting different personalities, people that we would bring to meet Srila Prabhupada. Those different religious leaders, politicians, they would all come. And then Prabhupada would give a Bhagavad Gita class in the evening. And then that would be the schedule then for the next 4 or 5, 7 days while Srila Prabhupada was here. So that can only be done by a transcendental personality. And we saw that every time Srila Prabhupada visited. So that's the example, the enthusiasm that we have to pick up from Srila Prabhupada. We have to pick up that enthusiasm that he had for spreading Krishna consciousness. I was listening to some of the classes last weekend, which I don't attend personally due to the time constraint of the there was some discussion, obviously, on the situation of the Gaudiya Math. And I was thinking that, you know, the Prabhupada coming to the West, that's the only thing that even gave any prominence to the Gaudiya Math. You know? They were unknown of, unheard of, basically, in the West. And it's simply because Srila Prabhupada came to the West and spread Krishna consciousness effectively. We know that members had tried previously from the Gaudiya Math to try and spread Krishna consciousness without any success. But Srila Prabhupada had all success due to his transcendental potency. And then they tried to use that success to piggyback on what Srila Prabhupada had done. So it was only due to Srila Prabhupada's preaching that there was any prominence at all from the Gaudiya Math. So I was just thinking like that due to Prabhupada's special purity and potency as the representative, the genuine representative of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, that we're able to be here today and experiencing the wonder of Srila Prabhupada's mission. So we're dedicated to following that on. And also, Vishwakarma Prabhu, you were mentioning about the bus. We also had a wonderful bus here in Australia. It was a double-decker bus, one of those English-style double-decker buses. And Dvaipayana Prabhu and myself and Madhavisa Swami then, we traveled something like 4,000 kilometers in 3 months up and down the east coast of Australia, every town and village. And we'd blow the conch shell when we'd come into the village, and people would come and the towns, and we'd spend the whole day distributing prasad, distributing books. And that was my first 3 months in Krishna consciousness. So that was our training in those days. So anyway, we're continuing on now. So thank you very much for this wonderful association, and I love to hear the realizations of the Prabhu. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Balaram. And Jonas Priya in Hawaii, maybe you could share some thoughts. I know it's early in the morning there. No, actually it's not. It's a regular.
Aloha, Hare Krishna. Glory to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, I just feel that we're so fortunate that we're discussing Srila Prabhupada. This is one of my favorite things. Srila Prabhupada didn't have to prove anything to anybody. Srila Prabhupada didn't need anything from anybody. So therefore he could say, and he did, he just said exactly what he needed to say. And when Prabhupada was talking, a lot of times there were some guests that they thought they were very learned and they tried to speak, and Prabhupada will shut him off immediately. Prabhupada wouldn't let him talk. Prabhupada just cut him off. And there's one story that I like. Mullah Prakriti tells that there was this one guy and he was arguing with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada just looked at him and said, "Look, you're simply crazy. You're one crazy person." And this guy just freaked out, It's like he thought he was so learned. And then he just started saying, crazy. And then less than a minute, he goes, "I'm crazy." And then he started breathing in front of Prabhupada. He said, "I'm crazy." And he started crying. This is Prabhupada's mercy. So how could anybody even attempt to compare themselves to Srila Prabhupada in any way and in any angle? This is simply either envy or gross ignorance or a combination. So these people that have these problems, they need to wake up. Prabhupada is so merciful that he will forgive anybody for anything they done if they come sincerely to Srila Prabhupada and say, "Srila Prabhupada, I know I messed up big time. I don't deserve any mercy, but please give me the opportunity to do something for you." And Prabhupada will say, "Yes, come on." Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. And this is so true for all of us that it is really a great opportunity to have this facility that was left to us by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda to get out of the material world, because we are on a journey in time here, everyone. In time, nothing is guaranteed. No one is guaranteed to live on another day. And the perfect example is the pastimes of Maharaj Parikshit, where he was cursed to die in 7 days. And he took his time to sit down and hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and in this way prepare properly. So proper preparation means to be involved your time and energy in the Sankirtan mission of Srila Prabhupada. And this is what we'll continue to do moving forward with this wonderful group that's assembling ongoing. And thank you everyone for sacrificing 4.5 hours a week to be a part of this instead of everything else that we do. And we'll be back on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Canada and the Eastern United States for the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam from the original unedited books. So we look forward to seeing you then. And Venkat Bhatta in South India, thank you for the production today. And please bring forward the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra led by His Divine Grace, and see the momentum that he created when he arrived in America early in the 60s. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivāsadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadhar Vivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Vivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,